I want to talk today about this idea of anywhere is a better place to be. And I've taken the theme of this talk from a song by Harry Chapin by that very same title. And this song is a magnificent story, and I'm just going to give you the essence of this song. It's about a little midnight watchman. And he comes into a diner in the morning after he's finished his shift. And he sits there, and he's just not only a diner, but it's a bar. And he's sitting there, he's drinking a gin. And he's there, this waitress who tends to be a waitress who's not physically beautiful. She tends to be very overweight. She doesn't have her hair done, and she knows that. But she looks at him as he sits there and says, "Go ahead, tell me your story." So this little man tells her the story about how he was in a restaurant one night. And in this restaurant, down next to him sat this most beautiful woman. And this woman was someone he would never make a play at, but he decided that he would make a play. And then he said, "Would you like to come home with me?" And the song builds on this idea. And she looks with him and says, "If you want me to come home with you, that's all right with me, because I know that I'm going nowhere, and anywhere is a better place to be." And so she leaves and she goes home with him. And this night goes on. And then in the morning when it comes down, he wakes up. And he doesn't want her to leave, so he goes out and gets some food. And when he comes back, all there is a note. And the note simply says, "It's time that I move on." And the waitress, as she hears this song, as he's telling, or as he's hearing the story, as she tells the story to him, she starts tearing up. And she goes into the storyline and says, "I wish I were halfway beautiful, or that you were halfway blind. I wish I wasn't this. I wish that I wasn't that, because I wish you would come home with me, because we both know about emptiness and what it means to be alone." And Harry says it so beautifully when he says, "And a little man looked at the empty glass in his hand, and he smiled a crooked grin, and he said, 'I guess I'm out of gin, and I guess I've got no place better to be. So if you want me to come with you, that's all right with me, because anywhere is a better place to be.'" So is this the truth? And I've really reflected on this idea. And what I got from this idea is to just go anywhere is to not be in truth. To go anywhere means you're going to constantly be seeking to go somewhere else than where you are, because there's no direction in that. So as we explore this holiday season, the idea is Christmas is where you go when you're home. Where is home for the holiday? And I'm going to tell you, home is within you. It's not going over to your parents. It's not going over to your children's. It's not going to a party. It's not being with your beloved if you have a partner. It's about being in the oneness with you. Home is where we feel free. And the only place we feel free is within ourselves, based on that awareness that we have. We free ourselves from this idea of limited beliefs, that we need something outside of ourselves. Everything last night, at last night's Bob Seger concert, was about seeking something outside of ourselves. The music was phenomenal, but when you listen to the lyrics, you understand that society is catering to the linear process of our brain. It is feeding us this intellectual idea that we must have more. We must seek this out. We have all these things that we're led to believe from the day we are born. Our parents give it to us. Our relatives give it to us. Society gives it to us. Our teachers teach it to us. We are taught to believe, and when we believe what is taught to us, then we are considered good. We are rewarded for that. I want to quote to you from Buddha. Buddha says, "Believe nothing. No matter where you read it, no matter who says it, even if I say it, do not believe it unless it feeds your common sense and your inner desire. Follow that up with Jesus saying, the power is within. Follow that up with it is done unto you as you believe. So the idea of freedom is right here in our mind. How do we look at things? How do we compare? How do we analyze? Are we in a linear process? And if we're in a linear process and that linear line is like this, the only place we can go is here, and then here, and here. Or are we thinking so far outside of our box that we can go anywhere at any time? That we can be in this situation and we can immediately go somewhere else by simply shifting our thought. Remember, shifting of thought is a gift because we have within us the availability to all the wisdom that ever existed. Because knowing that God is infinite, knowing that God is everywhere present, know that God has always been and always will be, it is the only mind that exists, and in that mind is all wisdom. And here's the beauty of it. Our minds, my mind, your mind, are that very mind. So any wisdom that we are tuned into immediately when we're aware comes to us. And when we hear it and we act upon it, we shift the demonstration or the consciousness of our lives. One of the things that I've come to understand is this idea of balance is so critical. And yet I'm going to counter that because I've had some discussions with a wonderful man that I meet with. And we talked about got to balance the intellect with the heart. Got to balance the divine with the human. We got to balance the right brain and the left brain. Even in the saying of those words, we're creating duality. Do you hear that? Because there's a this and a that in every one of those sayings. So how do we live in a place of oneness? See, in oneness, the heart and the mind are inseparable. In oneness, the divine and the human are the same thing. I want to be more spiritual is what I hear a lot of times. Reverend Lee, how do I become more spiritual? You can't. You already are. Do you hear it? You're already as spiritual as you can be. The only thing that we can shift by a deeper awareness is the experience that we have. So we don't become more spiritual by meditating. We don't come more spiritual by praying. We already are that. When we become more aware, we become the conscious creators in our lives. What I've come to understand is that this idea of meditation is the greatest gift we give ourselves because it frees us. What does it free us of? It frees us of thought. And it's our thought that limits us. When we can take that 15 minutes, that 20 minutes, that 5 minutes, that half hour, that hour, whatever it is we can take and quiet the mind to the best of our ability, we stop all that monkey chatter that's going on within us. That's the chatter that tells us that anywhere is a better place to be. But when we slow that mind down and we come to a point of stillness, we find that we're home and there's no place we would rather be. And so I take this idea of meditation, that it quiets the mind. It allows us to find that home. And then if we're in that place of being home, we use prayer, because prayer now directs our thought. We now direct that thought with an open, clean mind that's tapped in, tuned in, and turned on by the very essence of who we are. And when we direct that power of God that we are, it hears us, it obeys us, because it is us. Do you see the greatest Christmas gift the greatest gift you can give yourself any day, because Christmas, once a year thing. Isn't that silly? Thanksgiving, a once a year thing. Isn't that silly? All these holidays are doing are saying, remember that this is the truth about us every day of our lives. Every moment we can shift. We can shift. We can shift. Our minds are so powerful. Our energy created by our minds are so powerful. Last night at the concert, we sat as far back away from the stage as you can get, as far high as you can get, because we bought our tickets at the last thing. So we walk in and we are ready to rock, because Bob Seger used to play at my sock hops in Michigan. So I've known Bob from days back in the middle 60s. And so Gene and I are ready to really get into Bob Seger. We've loved this man. And I walk in and I look at my seat, and there next to me is a gentleman and a lady with him, and he is intoxicated beyond belief. He is not just intoxicated, he is in that obnoxious state of intoxication. And I mean, it is flowing over, and you could tell that these weren't really the two people, the man and the woman, were not really together, because she was as straight as you can get. And so what was funny is I sat down, and I set the clear intention in that moment that this was going to be a great concert and nothing would interfere. We were there 25 minutes before 8. The warm-up band came on at 8 o'clock. At 10 minutes to 8, this man stood up, looked at the lady he was with, and said, "Let's go home." For no reason whatsoever, she looked and says, "No, let's listen to Bob Seger." She says, "No, let's go home." And off they left. And all around Gene and I were a lot of very intoxicated people, except 2 seats on my right and 2 seats on Gene's left. There were no intoxicated people, because we set an intention that we were going to have a phenomenal time. And here's the interesting thing. If you really break it down energetically, the two energies could not match. And the more powerful energy was the one that would always stand up. I share that story with you because a lot of people talk about the holidays, and they're putting themselves in situations that have not been the most pleasant in the past. We hear about the idea of a blue Christmas. What I'm sharing with you is, you are so powerful, it doesn't matter where you go, who you're with. When you quiet your mind and you set the intention that you will have a connected, pure, loving, joy-filled, harmonic experience, it will be done. It is done unto you as you believe. That power comes from within. I invite you, as the great Buddha said, to not believe a word I've just said. Not a word. Any word I ever give you on this platform, you'll hear this over and over again. Do not believe me. You test it. You decide if it's right for you, and you come to your own conclusion. Because Reverend Lee is no one other than Lee. And Lee is the same as you. And you and I and everyone we ever meet are God in expression. You and I and everyone here are God in expression. Look at someone on your left. Just look to the left and look into someone's eyes. Or turn around, but find someone's eyes and look. Look to the right. Look all around. Just look into someone's eyes. Do you feel that there's a presence there? It's not just a physical body, it's an energetic. Do you feel it? Look into the eyes. Feel that energy. The greatest gift you can ever give another person is to look directly in their eyes and listen. Listen. Do not judge. See the presence, see the power of love that you are reflected back to you. That's the Christmas gift. That's the light. That's the love. That's the joy.